Hello, everyone. Welcome to Elevating Your Life. Oh, wishing everyone a fantastic day and so happy to have you with us today. I am so happy to share my awesome gifts today. We have with us Frances Metzman. She is a graduate of Moore College of Art and has a master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania. In addition to publishing 27 short stories in various literary journals, she has a novel published by Wild River Books, The Cha-Cha Babes of Pelican Way, which was a bestseller on Amazon. Her teaching credits include professor at Rosemont College, where she taught publishing, writing, and at a Temple University that included the structure of creative writing and memoir. Writing workshops has been given at universities and colleges such as Bryn Mawr, Penn State, Delaware, University of Pennsylvania, Widner, and several others. As a fiction editor, she introduces debut and seasoned writers and is a freelance editor in her spare time. Oh, you are so amazing, Fran. Her most recent publication, The Cha-Cha Babes Dance with the Devil, a sequel to the earlier novel, is available on Amazon. So first off, welcome. Welcome, Fran.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you. Well, I would love to start with, share with us what triggered you to be a fiction writer. And I mean, you've written so many books. Give us a little bit of your history on that and what brought you to the path you're on.
Well, a couple of things. I think from childhood, I always wanted to write, but as you go along through the grades, somewhere along the line, you get the wrong impression that it's some kind of mystical thing to do. I love writing stories, but I didn't think they had any worth. What I didn't know is that you really have to write a lot to develop any skills. So I did actually graduated Moore College of Art and went into clay sculpture. And I created images, sometimes kind of neurotic looking, a face within a face within a face, just trying to show the depth of our brains and our minds. And then I started to write. I just went to my passion after, maybe 20 years of doing sculpture. And another thing that encouraged it is I moved into Center City into an apartment, and there's not much place for a lot of ceramic materials. So I quickly hopped on to my writing that I had already started. I went to a lot of conferences, because wherever I went, I was only getting dabs of information at workshops, conferences, and I did a lot of background reading on my own and realized that writing is, if you can tell a story, you can be a writer, but you have to understand the basics, the structure, the techniques of writing and how to write seamlessly. Just like a doctor has to know anatomy, we hope. we don't want to second guess them, but we just hope they know their anatomy well when they go to do surgery. So I really kind of went along that path of really developing a foundation for writing. It's like a framework, and you put your work within that and understand language, dialogue, settings, point of view, all of these things have to be reckoned with and balanced in your writing.
Yeah. So would you say it's like just various pieces that need to be addressed, that need to be part of your writing to make it complete?
Yes. There's things that they call like info dump. You put too much information in. What you then need is to decide where a dialogue begins between two people. Characters are most important. So you really have to develop your characters really deeply, layer by layer. Second, and probably as important, I think, is plotting. Some people say, oh, plot, 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 it's old fashioned. Well, we don't understand it if it's not well plotted. You know, there's a lot of stuff that rants, and that's because it hasn't been plotted. So it could be very subtle. It could be a literary plotting. It could be emotional plotting, but it is plotting because we're used to stories that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Once you understand that and study it, then you can experiment, like a realistic painter who then does an abstract. But the abstract is controlled. It's not just splashing paint. The colors are controlled, the perspective. So it kind of runs I think they're kind of equal in their approach. Art, where you have to really study perspective and do realistic painting, and then experiment. Same thing in writing. Understand how you write. And there is a basic thing. Not that you have to write within those confines terribly, but you have to be aware of them so you don't lose your reader. You don't have too much dialogue, you know, without any interruption of setting or, you know, or motions, people knocking on the table, you know, yelling. So in an argument, and you must have conflict in your writing, whether it's emotional or physical action. So
So for a fiction book, you want to have conflict? Is that
oh yeah,
to
yeah.
just pull someone in to what may happen?
Yeah, because life, that's what resonates with people. I think they want to know what difficulties, say a memoir, which is written just like fictions today. So you're doing a memoir. Do we want to know that you came down, had a cup of coffee, read the newspaper, walked the dog, and had a lovely day? Is that, I mean, you're not going to read that book. But if somebody knocks at the door who hasn't been there, I mean, I'm talking like a literary book who you haven't seen in 30 years, you know, and you're distraught because this person brought pain into your life. Now you've got a story to start with. And every scene has to have tension or you lose your reader. And I don't blame them. They want to see how you got through all of these hurdles in life and came up standing on your 2 feet, talking, still intelligent, still sane. You know, all of us have gone through these hurdles in life over and over. And people want to know how you got through them. And they want to root for you to win. Your main character, that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
Would
yeah,
you
you
say
need
that,
tension in every scene.
yeah, enables people to kind of, oh, I understand that. I've felt that, or I've seen others feel it. And look, oh, they got through it, and this is how they do it. So in a way, it's a positive tool for the reader.
It is, absolutely. And you show them the multiple conflicts. And set a goal to solve the problem that has dropped in your lap. Everybody needs to kind of see how somebody else did it. You know, that they can relate to it. Well, I'm not alone. Look, she has phobias too, the main character. And this is how she's dealing. And I have phobias. So, you know, that's just a wild sample of what we're talking about. You know, you don't feel so alone. You're a community in your fiction. You develop a community.
I love that. So with all the books you've written, how did these ideas, the core themes, come to you? Was it like all of a sudden, oh, I want to write about that? Or did you just piece by piece and I'm building it and putting it together? Was it a sudden thing or a step by step? basis? I'm really
It
curious.
was, yeah, I would say it's step by step over a long period of time. My artwork uh helped because it's layering. If you're doing a realistic figure, you have to know what the bones look like. And so that was a big help, how to layer your characters the same way, from the bones to the sinews to the muscles to the skin. So you're laying your characters, they have a background. So human behavior has always fascinated me. I just sometimes understand it so clearly, and sometimes it's a total mystery. People's interactions, their motivations, that always interested me. And then I came upon, I started in a working class family. Then when my children were young, I was married. We moved into a, yeah, maybe somewhat upscale neighborhood, you would say, considered a very nice Tony neighborhood. And I saw in this town alone so much white collar crime of professionals. In my own little neighborhood, we had an executive who embezzled. We had a lawyer who was faking insurance claims, a doctor who did insurance fraud. People I knew, my husband's best friend, who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and a huge, nice business, went to fraud, wound up in jail, and didn't know why he did it, except, yeah. So I needed to look at this. What is motivating these people? And of course, relationships are a mystery to begin with. That I also wondered. And in a way, I think in a way, fiction for me allowed me to have some control of the world, on an honest
Control the
portrayal.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I fell into it. And probably some neurotic stuff in me was propelling me to write. It is very therapeutic, by the way.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your most recent book, um, The Cha-Cha Babes Dance with the Devil. What's the theme behind that? Who are
Well, a few
babes?
years ago, I started to read about articles, minuscule articles about sex trafficking. So I then started to do research and developed quite a background in the information about sex trafficking. And then it became kind of an obsession. It's a horrible situation. Women, children as young as 4, 3, are enticed, kidnapped, coerced uh, into this terrible situation. Now, I already had at least two main characters from the book before. This is a sequel to the Cha-Cha Babes of Pelican Way. Those characters are in this book because they wound up in the other book solving like amateur sleuths. They solve some serial murder things in their Florida community, where the people who died were not autopsied because they were probably very sick, but there was a reason why they were being killed. Anyway, so naive women who were kind of outliers in the retirement gated community in Florida hung together. They had a lot in common. They were different personalities. They took cha-cha lessons, which really,
Cha-Cha.
gave them, huge energy and love for one another. They were very good friends. Women's friendships are important to me. And so they are now characters in this new setting where they are kidnapped. There's a whole story of how they get kidnapped because they are told they must be madams. They can't leave. They're now prisoners. Now, the madams who oversee a lot of these women in these dirty, awful apartments they really just want them to be spies so that they could bring back the information, who is the rebel, who is starting trouble. And so they escape. And then they decide not to go back to their comfortable life in Florida, but to find justice for these women, as small as it might be. And what I do expose that hasn't kind of, I think this Jeffrey Epstein and whoever else, has done these small little packages. The Sound of Freedom was another one, the movie had to do, it seems to be coming out now, but it's a small, I don't want to use any rough expressions, but it's a scratch on an elephant's butt. So the real deal is it's at least a minimum of $150 billion business a year, and it's worldwide. It's all over the world. And a lot of the mafia in every country, there's a mafia group, and they cooperate in transporting these women. They're tattooed with the owner's name on their necks, so that they know who she was bought from. They transport them in shipping containers. I can't look at a shipping container, these big boats with shipping containers. It kind of gives me the creeps because they're transported there in airplanes, trucks. So, and a little bit that people can help by being aware. The US is one of the biggest importers of sex slaves and producers.
And so
Plus,
your book, it's fiction, but you researched and you brought in details of things that are happening.
Yes,
and
exactly.
pulled that into a fiction book.
Right. Very well researched. I'll tell you, it took a lot of time and interviews with people.
So with that being a fiction, are you, because I know it's, the books are kind of to help people. So does it kind of give any ideas, or does it have a positive effect where, something can be done that maybe we could all learn and be aware of to help fight this?
Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I do have suggestions along those lines. I'm glad you mentioned that. But it is character forward. These friends who make this decision as baby boomers, older people who not as old as I am, but but older people make this decision. It's instead they could go back and hide out in their little village, but they make this decision. So it's a lot about them, the Cha-Cha girls. Yeah. It's a lot about what they do, but there is the reviews have been very good by people I don't know who have read it, and they say, it's engaging, it's frightening, it's some twisted humor because that's the way they keep their sanity. And it was very enlightening as to how it operates. And so, let's see, malnourished, when you see children or women that look very malnourished or unkempt, children huddled maybe in a truck, or women in a truck that's at a truck stop, they have no documents. They might be with a man who they call daddy, or their brothers. They don't speak. Only the man will speak for them. They're kept quiet. So you can, there are now starting to be things in airports warning you, giving you these things to look for. And because they bring them in every which way, train, plane, containers. Containers are probably the most dangerous because there's very little air. They have to be hidden in the back of these containers. There's sanitation problems, there are food problems. And if they die on the way, they just get, or they get sick, they just get tossed off into the ocean.
That is, it's great that you share some of the, what we can all look out for and do to try to make a better situation of that. You've written, I'm just in awe, you've written so many books, Fran. Is there one over the years of your books that was like your most favorite? That you just felt the best and had so much fun writing? Is there one that stands out?
Well, I did have more fun writing the first book because that was the first time I met these characters or developed these characters. People like to say the characters tell you how to write, but they don't. It's really you're unconscious, I think, because things come out of me that I never even knew, consciously. Um, so okay, so I get off track now. Oh, the books that I liked most.
Yeah, your
That was more of a fun book. It
Uh-huh.
was, this is more of a serious book, but I think it's my best writing.
Yeah.
I think somehow maybe over the years experience or just I am very passionate about this subject because it's such a terrible thing that I think these last two books, I have to say, were the most impactful on my life.
I bet eye-opening and really something. For the guests out there that are in the process of writing or want to become writers, share your website so everyone can read a little more about you and maybe give them, a couple little tidbits about, how to take those first steps to write their first book.
Okay. Yeah, I'm francismetzman.com for the website. I have a professional page on Facebook, Fran Metzman Written Work. I'm on Twitter, mostly Facebook, a lot on Facebook. A lot of the information, flyers, and discussions of the sometimes shorts on my website. I have short stories that I've written that also a little off the scoreboard because they're like a woman who lives in the attic of her ex-husband's home. She designed the home. She lives there, goes home on weekends. She spies on them, a little hole in the floor to see why he left her and how bad this new woman is. And so they're like offbeat stories and all about relationships, people's relationships, either successful or not. Yeah, so it's a world, to me, fiction is reality. We have to really research and be extremely accurate about our theme, no matter what it is, even if it's a psychological drama, which I use a lot of psychology, but if it's a psychological drama, you have to be accurate about how you're dissecting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't
History
thought
books.
about
Yes.
that in fiction
Yeah.
writing. Have it be kind of legit and fact-based. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's the real world to me. That's the real
Yeah.
world because you have to be very honest and you have to be honest with yourself and dig deeply and not be afraid to show who you are. Which yeah, even if it's not you, if you're not fashioned your main character after yourself, doesn't matter. People will see pieces of you. I can't help. Yeah.
And the feeling I got with writing my book, it's like you're writing it, but it is a bit of a piece of you. I mean, it is.
It is.
It's an amazing thing especially to write your first book and move on. Fran, we have just a couple minutes left in the show. What last message do you want to give everyone before we say goodbye?
Well, you mentioned something about aspiring writers. Would you like me to deal with that?
I would love that. I would love that.
Okay. From what I said earlier, please, please, I mean, I want writers, aspiring writers to write from the heart, but that can't be the only thing. You have to build that foundation first. Learn the basics. Learn how to balance dialogue to setting, to characters, flashbacks. There's so a point of view. You have to be careful when you're in a point of view and not jump out of it. And so there's so many aspects. Learn them first. That's how I teach it. And then within that framework, you can write. But you have to work on it till it's in your unconscious. And even it's in my unconscious, but I still make mistakes. So, but I can generally, if I read it aloud, I can generally hear the mistake. So learn your basics, please. And then you will be able to write anything you want. Fiction, nonfiction, memoir. They all use fictional techniques. So learn first, even if you have to be on Google all night. Don't worry. Once you get the sense of it, there's that aha moment. I see where this is going. And then you can write to your heart's
And it can
content.
be so great how just ideas and thoughts can come to you. Yes, okay, I'm gonna write about that. Yes, it's like, wow, it just,
Right. And read the
creation.
newspaper. Yeah, read the newspapers. I know a lot of people don't these days, but read them. You'll find very interesting things. That was a stimulant for me too. Reading newspapers every day. Used to get a publication called News of the Weirdest things that people did,
Did you
like a
read
blind
other
person.
people's books as well to kind of?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's part of
Reading a lot
learning.
of other people's books. Yeah.
And try to
The book
study
cover.
it. Scenes and sequels. How do they do? That's the heart of your book.
Yeah.
Scenes, sequels, chapters. And
Fantastic.
that's combined. And see how other writers have done this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard because you get caught up in the writing,
Mhm.
but then go back and look at it. How much conversation to how much about the setting. Today, people don't want to hear too much about the settings, just to set enough to, it used to be the first 100 pages were descriptions, years ago when they were writing books. No more. You can't do that anymore.
Oh,
Teach
Fran,
it.
thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh,
It's been
thanks for
great
letting me
meeting you.
rattle.
Big hugs. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for joining us, and love, hugs, and blessings. Thank you.
Hope to hear from you again, and everybody
Thank you.
out there, email me. Oh,